We thought it best to follow the interview with the president of Iran with our own Fareed Zakaria, the host of GPS on CNN. It airs Sundays, 10 a.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, a show I never miss. He's also newly with Time magazine. It's great to welcome you, and thank you. Wish we had more time, but what struck you most about him today?
I thought he was tough. He did not seem to want to give satisfaction on any issue. I mean, in the past he has said, look, Iran has no intention of building nuclear weapons. This is a peaceful program. And instead of saying that, he was playing games with you. Who are you to ask me to say that? Who is the United States to ask? So I thought you got a sense of a man feeling comfortable about his position, feeling somewhat defiant, not really extending much of an olive branch at all.
Why? Why not? Why this? Well, you know the region better than anyone. Why do they have to stay hardcore?
I think that this regime, at its core, has an element of anti-Americanism that is in its DNA. That it was, it came to power overthrowing a pro-American dictator. It still has as part of its kind of founding rituals the death to America chants. And I think that being revolutionaries, they believe if they weaken, if they show themselves to be moderate, all of a sudden they'll be outflanked by the Green Revolution. So it's very much a kind of hardcore revolutionary regime that feels as though they need to, strengthen the ranks, not show weakness.
Is it a good point that he makes that you have nuclear weapons? Israel has nuclear weapons. We're not going to have any, but why are you yelling at us?
Well, he's very clever. I think people who think that he's some kind of a mad mullah really misunderstand him.
Not crazy.
Yeah, and you've had him many times, so you've seen that. First of all, he's not a mullah. He's actually an academic, and he's very smart. He finds the weaknesses or the inconvenient facts, and he pushes them relentlessly. Let's be honest, we are trying to make the case that Iran would be in violation of sort of universal rules of nuclear non-proliferation, and he keeps pointing out that Israel has nuclear weapons, and nobody seems to worry about that. It is an inconvenient problem, because you have the reality of trying to create universal rules, and there is this exception. He similarly pushes back on human rights.
Yeah, I want to ask about that.
In a very, it's a sort of sophistry. It's not real, but he has pointed to a real and a weakness, which is the United States has 2.5 million people in prison. It's the highest incarceration rate in the world. We have more people per capita in prison than anyone else. And so he's figured that out, and he pushes and he pushes.
How bad is the human rights situation in Iran?
Oh, it's pretty bad. Look,
So he's lying.
Yeah, the reality is that after the Green Revolution, they put, as far as we can tell, thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people in prison. They released some of them. They certainly tortured some. Look, when I was editor of Newsweek International, they arrested one of my reporters, a guy who was falsely accused of having been involved in inciting the revolutions. They tortured him. They put him in solitary confinement. This man, Maziar Bahari, had done absolutely nothing wrong. So I know firsthand that he's lying about that.
Why do you think, Fareed, I've interviewed him many times. I've never heard him as harsh as he was tonight about Netanyahu.
That was a
killer.
That was extraordinary. It was extraordinary.
And he hasn't been that harsh earlier this week. It's getting worse.
Yeah, I think that Ahmadinejad is always playing a game to the Arab street. He is trying to be the most anti-Israeli leader in the Middle East.
He's winning.
The most pro-Palestinian leader. And what it does is, you notice he said something to you. He said, the people of the Arab world are not anti-Iranian. You look at the polls, they say that they support...
88%.
Right, and as far as we can tell, some of those polls are real. These are polls done by often Western news agencies. And what he's figured out is if he comes out ahead of everybody else supporting the Palestinian cause, it complicates the life of the Egyptian regime and the Saudi regime.
Fareed Zakaria, one of my favorite people. He hosts GPS on CNN, and this weekend his special guest, Shimon Peres, President